Clickety-clack.
Clickety clack indeed. That tickety tickety tickly clickety clickety tickly. I didn't mean to say that. Oops.
Yeah, you went a little bit weird with that one.
Yeah, I do that sometimes. Hey, buddy.
How's it going?
It's all right, man. How are you? How's your time off?
It's been all right.
Cool.
So apparently I have a movie on Tubi called Lone Wolves, which doesn't make any sense.
That's why I laughed.
Yeah.
Because you
How can you
literally
be
started
lone?
off.
How can you literally be lone wolves if there's more than one of you?
Is this a direct to DVD English
Shit,
dub?
this might be. Let me find out who stars in this. Oh
Who
my
made
god,
this?
yeah,
Where
okay,
was it made?
so this is the one where like the first image they see, like this is like, it's like, right, you go through and like they'll pick like either the editor or the director, somebody picks an image from the movie, and then that becomes like the still when you click on the cover, right?
Sure.
On the box.
Sure.
This one is a guy who's carrying what looks like a gun. It's got a scope on top. I mean, it looks like a rifle scope.
Sure.
But the gun itself seems to be made out of various boxes, pieces of metal. It looks
to
like,
be perfectly honest, I did that when I was a child too.
yeah, that's really what it looks like. To the point that it's like kind of odd silencer at the or suppressor at the end of it is literally threaded on like it's a like somebody went to Home Depot and was like, "Oh, this piece of plumbing pipe threads onto that piece of plumbing pipe."
I'd like to raise you one though. Have you seen the Seagal movie where he tapes a empty 2-liter bottle to the front of a pistol and uses that as a silencer?
Well, that in theory should work to a certain extent.
But there's no baffling inside. The whole point is that there's supposed to be some baffling on the inside of the silencer
you're supposed to like have like cotton or something inside of there to help muffle the sound.
Like, have you if you've never seen, like, I think MythBusters or somebody on History Channel, when they were out of stories about World War II to tell, I think they like cut a silencer in half down the long way, and you could actually like see it, and it's there's like stuff to it. It's not just a 7-Up bottle that somebody was like, listen, this is done. I think that its sound dampening qualities are going to be really useful if you're Steven Seagal and you have a ponytail.
You're like, listen, Steven, I'm going to have to break this to you. Okay, remember when we talked about how you could wrap a pillow around a gun and it would actually muffle the sound? You're like, yeah, and you're like, you're using a pillowcase. So that it's missing something.
I've been working with pillowcases for like 30,000 years.
Tell me, I've been working with bed linen for like 50 years.
Oh, it's glorious.
So it's yeah.
Welcome to the Save vs. Poison podcast, the podcast dedicated to gaming, general geekery, and enduring sobriety in an ever maddening society, with your host Will and two guys that probably live under his stairs. If you're an addict, know an addict, or are just interested in exploring the outer mysteries of geekery, you're in the right place. Without further ado, let's get to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Save vs. Poison. Cheers. Right on. Good game. Go team. I'm a little sick. I'm still a little sick, getting over a cold that started last week and will not leave me alone. And I worked out today for the first time in a week, so like today is an extra special, super tired day. But that doesn't mean that in my heart of hearts, I'm not excited to be here. All right? There's no wives here. There's no third takes. This is simply just, we clicked the thing, we started the show, we've got some co-host action. Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. My name is Will. I'm your host. Joining me tonight, Steve is unfortunately on assignment smuggling Canadian Furries south across the border for a friend. So instead, joining me tonight, he recently started wondering if Canadian Furries smell like maple. He also says he prefers his perverts polite. He's back from 2 weeks in horny jail. He's Ticky. What's up, buddy?
Yeah,
welcome back.
I find it interesting that that you would have in the instance of Canadian furries and smuggling them, that a Korean guy would be your best bet.
Nobody suspects. Nobody
Yeah,
suspects.
yeah. I mean, as far as stereotypes go, there's just in human smuggling. I would imagine there's a different. Anyway,
Of all the jokes about borders and Steve you could have made, I'm glad you went with Canadian and Korean, because otherwise I feel like we're in hot soup, as it were, hot soup. And Steve would
oh,
come back and be like, "Listen, you sons of bitches."
what's interesting is I knew a Korean guy named Hot Soup.
Hot? Did you?
Yeah, no.
I didn't
Anyway,
think so. Fucking bluff called, brah. Yeah. No. How's it going, man?
that sounded really good.
Did you get to go see your kids?
No,
Like when last we left you, I knew that you had a trip to possibly go see your kids. That didn't happen. That didn't materialize.
it was raining pretty bad. It was a really bad storm. I went all the way up to the airport. I was anxious as hell. I was actually running late for my flight,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I parked my car. I got in the little bus, the shuttle,
Yep.
go to the airport, and like halfway to the airport, there's an update, and they had canceled the flight. So I get to drive
Like,
around the airport, come all the way back. It's raining, dumping rain still. And I get in my car and I leave the parking lot right there, that Pikes Peak parking,
yeah.
and it cost me $8
Oh my
because
God.
I
That's
was
just a kick right in the dick. You're like, I don't get to see my children, and it cost me $8. And
yeah.
did you at least get like a a free ticket or something? Like, did you
I
get
got
to
my I
move
got
the
my
ticket to some other day?
I got my money back.
You got your money back. Okay. Okay.
That
Good.
was like the very least that United Airlines could do. My problem after that was I started like trying to reschedule it, and it was at minimum $100 more
Oh,
minimum for the same flights all the way through into the all the way through the summer. So I talked to my ex, and it looks like I'm gonna do the whole thing as a road trip
oh,
in July, like over 4th of July weekend.
oh. Cheers.
So that'll be interesting. I haven't done a long road trip in a while.
Sure. Sure.
So yeah,
All right on,
I'm
man.
uh,
I
I'm
mean,
excited.
fuck, that sucks. God, that sucks, dude. You told me that. I felt absolutely awful for you. I thought it was fucking like it rained in Denver and they shut like we could have a foot of
Hmm.
snow on the ground. They'd still be like, nope, them Airbuses is moving. But a
Yep.
couple of inches of rain over like a 4-day period, and
Oh,
I don't understand the city. I don't get it at all.
yeah. Then speaking of rain, then not this last Thursday, but the one before. I was sitting in my. It was raining really good, like outside my
Yeah,
apartment, and I was like, "Ah, pretty good rain. Like the whatever." And I was like on a call and for work. I was in a meeting, and that wrapped up. And I got up to I don't know what I was. I was getting. I got up out of my desk, and I was like, I need to go grab a soda, or I was going to go masturbate. Like one of the two.
one of the
But
two. Yeah, yeah. No,
I get up and
there's no middle ground. All
yeah,
right,
there was
it's
none.
one of the two extremes. Either you're getting a fizzy bubbly, or you're making some fizzy bubbly.
So I turn the corner, and my entire living room and kitchen are just flooded.
No.
And yeah, and I looked outside the rain. It was like really bad, and like I opened the door. I was like, "What the fuck?" And then it turns out because I thought it was like maybe an inch of rain outside.
Yeah.
It was like 4 inches of rain outside, and when I opened the door, it just flooded the apartment even worse.
Oh my God.
My dog was my poor dog. She's like walking
Yeah.
around in the water. At one point in time, she's staring at me like I don't know what. Like, it took me a minute to figure out what her problem was because I got some sandbags and I put it at my front door and I was it just was a mess. My dog's staring at me while in the water, and then she finally kind of like walks around and like sits down in it and gives me like this weird look, like my ass is all wet. Like,
Dad,
not really
Dad,
sure what I'm supposed to do with this.
what do I do with this here wet ass? So,
So
I got a question real quick.
mhm.
Why do you have sandbags?
Oh, they're like right down the hall.
Okay,
Or
okay, all
right down
right.
the right.
All right.
I don't. They're not mine.
Okay, I don't know. I that's why it's a question,
But
not a judgment.
I was looking at it. I left. I walked into my apartment, and there's just like the outdoor walkway, and the laundry room just right. I shared a wall with it, it's like I'm pretty sure water's getting inside of there too. But I looked over and I saw that like right next to it in the gravel. Previously, there had been a problem with water, so they'd stacked up some sandbags over there,
Huh.
but they weren't being used. There wasn't a problem at that time, so I just yeah, dude.
I mean, kind
yeah,
of nice that you don't have to pay for like any damage,
no.
right?
I have
Like,
to. Yeah, my apartment's it's a bit of a mess. Um, the plus side is because I'm a nerd. Like, I keep everything elevated.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't really think too much on that. It's just something
yeah.
I do, subconsciously. So yeah, it sucks. It's what I would I oftentimes refer to it as a like bad things come in threes, right? Like this is the way that I view the world. So this is my you know I guess that's the second bad
Yeah, I
thing.
gotcha. What's the third one going to
So
be?
I don't know.
Jesus.
It's who knows? Broken bone, something like
Oh,
that.
no, don't say that, bro.
Run over by a car.
Don't say that. I don't
I
like
already
that at
watched a
all.
bunch of bad movies. I can't. No, I can't do anything worse
You
than that.
choose to do that. That can't be
Yeah,
rule
it's
of
not
threes.
good.
You'd be going through a rule of
Yeah.
three like every 2 days.
It's not that frequent. It'd be like weekly. Um,
That's too much. That's too much. That I feel like that's you tempting fate. But I would have loved it if you'd said, "Well, I got sandbags because what if, the Germans and I need to fortify." That
that
would
would
have been
have
funny.
been.
I would have
Yeah.
laughed.
Why do you have that? It's
The
Germans.
Germans,
I don't
they're
know.
always coming for me. They always want to make sure that.
Yeah. So it's been I've had a pretty weird like week or so at this point. It's
Yeah.
been yeah. I guess it's the other shitty thing was that I had actually taken that I had that when I was going to go see my kids. I'd also taken the day off like Friday.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know. It's one of those weird things. Like told my boss, and I'm like, like, oh, my flight got canceled because of the rain, and he's like, that sucks. He's like, well, just try and relax this weekend and enjoy whatever. And I was like, so I still like want to burn in a vacation day for no reason.
Ah.
And then like a week later, I'm like, hey, my apartment just flooded, and he's like, what the hell? Like, why did these things happen to you? I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm a weirdness magnet too. Sometimes I think that if I was just walking down the street, the only talking dog in Colorado would come up to me
Would
and
come
say,
up to you
"Hey,
and strike up a conversation
I
about,
yeah, I need your help on a
joining
quest to
the.
defeat the cat who
Yeah.
rules this neighborhood." And like, I'd be like, and me, I'd probably be like, "Well, I mean, I'm busy, but fine."
He's like, you
Um,
don't understand. He's lacing the catnip. Cats are dying all over the city, man. It's terrible. The fentanyl.
we're their only hope. Don't you get it?
Don't you get it, Ticky? Don't you get
Yeah.
it? You
And
know
I'd be
what?
like,
Once
how
again,
the
I feel like
yeah,
this is another great idea for a movie
yeah, it could be.
that we're not going to do anything with.
That's possible. I'm still thinking about watching. I told you earlier, I was thinking about watching this movie, Cries of Ecstasy, Blows of Death.
No.
I'm looking at it right now.
No.
It is 1973 movie. It's 50 minutes long, which is 48 minutes more than I need.
Is this a film de erotica, as they might say
No,
in
it's actually
Paris?
not. I
It's
did
not?
watch one of those recently by
You
accident,
did.
but
By
yeah,
accident, he fucking says. Yeah, okay, buddy. All right, buddy.
the Ouija Nazi one was the one that was really like I was like, this is going to be like good bad movie, and then it was just no, it's just kind of like smut. Um,
This is just straight
but
smut.
this one is another really interesting one where like you're like, oh, it's in the future, and there's a roving band of violent bikers. Now, none of them are werewolves, but
More's the pity.
yep, that right there, that is a movie like Werewolves on Wheels needs to be a movie. Anyway, so that's a whole lot of other things that are, in my life right now that I don't know. I think that I just kind of overshare.
I, I don't know. I think that whatever this, maybe not erotica that you're talking about. I mean, maybe that's something to look forward to. Maybe as soon as we hang up the call tonight. Fuck. I'm not getting through a podcast without misspeaking. It's just not happening. All right.
Yeah.
I think after you shut down shop on the podcast tonight, you're gonna strike that movie up and see where the evening takes you. You'll already have had your soda pop, and then you can do the other end of your evening time spectrum.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, still got some bad movies to go through. I had a couple that I thought might be good. It turns out they're very bad. I've got a couple of more that are going to be very bad, but I'm moving towards those anyway. And
Gotcha.
yeah, and then other ones like we were talking about before the show, where I have absolutely blanked out on the movie itself because it just wasn't that good, and I've forgotten all about it.
The amount of times that you say, and then I fell asleep and I had to rewatch it. Like you do that. It's like every third movie of these that you say, that you talk about, like you're either not getting enough sleep or these movies are, they're not even like exciting bad. They're just like boring and bad, which I can excuse. Exciting and bad, that I can understand, but boring and bad, come on. Like explosions, a titty, anything at all, anything to spice things up. Like, I'm not saying that I'm for exploitation necessarily, but I'm not saying I'm not for it. All right,
Well,
I'm not
there's
against
all
it.
sorts of exploitation. It doesn't always have to be like sexploitation.
That's
It can
true.
be,
That's true. It doesn't.
you got
It doesn't.
exploitation, you got Canucksploitation.
And I love me some Canucksploitation.
Yeah,
I do.
that's some of the best stuff. Yeah, no, way too much of it is like. I think like so like when I watched Werewolves on Wheels and it was boring. Like
Yeah.
the whole like middle of that movie, actually the whole first 95% of that movie, 98% of that movie was really boring. The fact that I was sitting there the whole time, like any minute now, there could be a werewolf riding a motorcycle.
Any minute.
Any minute.
Any minute.
And it like you go through for like an hour, and it's like, it's got to happen. I mean, it was on the cover.
Yeah.
It's the name of the damn movie.
Never
There's got to
fucking
be a werewolf
materialized.
in this. Yeah, like
Yep.
yeah. And then when it happens, it's like, oh, for crying out loud.
I had a character for a role playing game. I had this like fully fleshed out. I wrote a backstory for him and everything, where he was like this nomadic courier, but he also happened to be a werewolf. This was for a game called Werewolf the Apocalypse. I was really looking forward to it. Like, I thought it was a really interesting idea for for a character, and was really jazzed to play, and never got to play that character. And I thought that it was like, you told me Werewolves on Wheels. I was like, oh my god, I might see that on the big screen. And it's like, no, I'm not ever gonna watch that movie because there are no werewolves.
You've just got to like fast forward through, like I said, like 95% of the movie, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, I see what he was talking about.
Yep.
And then you don't have to, then you don't have to do the other part of the movie. The other, it's like it's a balance. It's like 50-50. No, it was like 95-5, or 90-10 at best.
Nice.
It's really bad. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I've just been movie stuff, goofy stuff. Like I said, some things have like happened that have been bad, that have been bothersome, and it's just whatever. I'm not. I try not to get too focused on the down of it all, and know that like like everyone, like my landlady was actually really super apologetic. She's like, I'm so sorry your apartment got flooded. And I was like, yeah, like even the adjuster was like, hey, yeah, this sucks. I'm really sorry about that. I'm like, I'm really not that upset.
Yeah.
like there are worse things that could have happened.
Sure.
You want to know what annoys me? My dog keeps on getting mud on her feet or dirt on her feet and climbing on the bed and trying to climb under the covers and leaving dirt everywhere, like
all over.
And yeah, oh, she's terrible about that.
Sure.
I'm like, that is a pretty that bothers me because it happens daily. Yeah.
I get it. We have a dog. His favorite place to go is the dog park. When we don't go to the dog park, it's because it's going to be a mud pit. And if we let that dog run around the dog park when it's been raining, it's just an absolute shit show inside this house. Just
no self-awareness.
None at all. He's like, what? I have mud on me? Great. Fantastic. Slick it down. Make me look like a villain from the 1980s. All right?
You see how like lithe and thin I am right now?
Yeah, I look so good.
It's like taking one of them big fluffy cats and you give it a bath and you're like, oh my god, you are so skinny.
Yeah, you are skinny and terrifying to
basically
look at.
All fur.
That's all you are. Well, I mean, there's a few cats like that.
I think the closest thing my dog probably came to in terms of self-awareness is when she like sat down in that puddle of water in the living room. She's like looking at me like, I don't know what am I supposed to do here? I don't want to.
Do I move? Do I stay?
Like, you're sitting down. I feel like if you're sitting down, I should be sitting down.
Dad, what does a good dog do right now?
Sitting in the water with her butt getting wet, looking at me. Well, Like, yeah, no, there's like 2 rooms. I mean, the plus side was that neither one of the rooms got the water didn't flood to the back of the apartment.
That's good.
So the bedrooms where where my gaming rig is, and where my workspace is, that was all totally fine.
Good.
Um,
Good.
so right, take the little things with you know. Oh God, I feel awful about this.
Yes.
My neighbor upstairs. So during all of this, my neighbor upstairs, like that with the rain and everything, he calls me up and he says, "Hey, he's been going through a lot of cancer. He'd been going through a lot of cancer treatment,
Jesus.
and he's like, I fell off my couch. I can't get back on." And I was like, "Okay." So I went up there and I tried to help him out,
Yeah.
but he's just too big, and I couldn't do that by myself. So he had to call the fire the fire department ambulance to come and help get it, lift assist is what they called it. Then I guess later that night he actually went to the hospital
Ooh.
and was admitted and stayed there, and then was eventually admitted to hospice care and passed away recently. So
Oh man.
I know it kind of feels weird thinking about that.
That does feel weird thinking about that.
Yeah, you think that would have been the first thing on the trio of things that have been going wrong lately.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't mean to sound callous, but that doesn't, necessarily affect you directly, unless like, was this a friend?
Really.
Was this like?
He's
I
my
mean,
neighbor. He's a good guy. I knew
okay.
him. I guess that's
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
that's the thing. And he, you know, it's just that it just I can't believe how rapidly, like within like I think 6 months, not even that, like he just went downhill really quick. But yeah, I don't know why. I knew him, but I didn't like. I don't know. I wasn't inviting him over for like Thanksgiving dinner or anything.
Sure,
Just
sure, but still, like, I mean, yeah, no, wow. All right, so we went from wet dog ass and laughing about that
to my dead neighbor.
to
Yeah,
starting another portion of the conversation with
yeah.
well, he has cancer, and then nothing good happened from there. Nothing
So,
good
well,
happened after.
it's a good segue to the topic you wanted to talk about.
Kinda, yeah, yeah.
We can do the
But
check-in and then jump into that.
I think it's a good idea. Speaking of things that could have been way worse, my name's Will, and I'm an alcoholic.
My name's Ticky, and I'm an alcoholic.
Yay! I had no compunction to drink because I was sick as fuck. I had no
Perfect.
interest in. There it is. There was. Sobriety's easy as long as you are producing goo and unable to get off the fucking couch. That like I had no interest in any kind. Like, could you imagine chasing a shot of like Fireball whiskey with like some post nasal drip? That sounds awful. That sounds awful.
You're doing it. Well, for one, you're doing it backwards.
Thank you. I feel it's more bookending than chasing. How's that?
Yeah,
Is
there you
that
go.
appropriate?
Doing anything you can to like just kind of numb it and knock yourself out.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally with you. I didn't, despite everything that's been happening, and I just had like a whole litany right at the opening.
Yeah,
I
yeah. You
I
sound
really haven't had like any like drinking isn't like it just doesn't pop up in my mind very often as like, oh, that would help in some way. I just don't have that right now.
yeah.
It's kind of nice. That's about as far as I can really go with that. Is to say, it's a nice thing that I don't have those temptations right now. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just a more mellow person than I used to be. That's also possible.
I mean, I think that kind of comes with the territory of, aging a little bit. I didn't think that we were actually, I just didn't think. Now looking back on it, I don't think that I could have kept up the, rigors of my early 20s. Like the way that I engaged with alcohol towards the end of my alcoholism, I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't doing anything. I was just sitting in my house drinking and playing video games. That was it. I was just basically wasting portions of my life that I could have been doing things like paying attention to my family, paying attention to my health, engaging in hobbies in meaningful ways. I've done way more stuff outside the house that has been meaningful to me since I stopped drinking than, in the last 3 years of being in active alcoholism. So yeah, I don't think it's something that I could have thought about keeping going. Like even when Russ was living with us, I had opportunity and excuses to like go elsewhere with him to get and like go to the local bar and watch hockey. We could have done that. We could have been the barflies at the local sports bar. Sure, absolutely. I think I went to the bar to hang out with him maybe three times in a 9-month span of time that he was living with us. It wasn't much, you know. So I just I don't think I would have continued to. I don't think I did continue to engage in the same way. It just became me, you know, kind of sequestering myself more and more, and you know, falling further and further into a solo habit that had started off as something that was very, very social for me. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's like when you say, when you talk about the boredom of being in sobriety,
Mm-hmm.
I I chafe against that personally. Now, your feelings are your feelings, and the way that you experience things that's 100% on yours to you know to talk about, and that's okay. But I could never get behind that like from a personal standpoint because I became more and more of a hermit. I didn't become more interesting if I drank. I just was a hermit that drank. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I follow you.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. Different experiences though, you know. I still know people. Like I was in a bar for the first time in a really long time. My wife had a fundraiser, or not a fundraiser, but like an end of the year school event for the PTO where they do like this outdoor carnival kind of a thing for the kids at my youngest's elementary school. And one of the food vendors didn't turn up. Actually, like two of the food vendors didn't turn up. So the PTO members are all scrambling. They're all trying to figure stuff out. And they're like, hey, can you go to this restaurant and, you know, bring this, you know, 40 orders of this and 30 orders of this back to the carnival and we'll sell it here. And that'll be just, you know, that can be one part of getting some food here. And I was like, yeah, okay, you know, whatever. Be more than happy to help. This was the first time that I'd been in a bar. And it was a bar. It wasn't a restaurant. It was a bar. It was the first time I'd been in a bar without my wife being with me or without somebody that knew that I was sober being with me in, I don't know, 3 years, probably 3.5 years, you know? You know, I have no reason to go to one. And it was a really kind of a weird experience, sitting there looking at the retirees who were all probably north of 75 sitting around drinking copiously. And you know, I'm not judging. I'm not saying that they were alcoholics, but it definitely had like the sheen of it. Like I could see it being the case that they might be. And then, you know, not judging them. They're living their lives whatever way they want to. And I kind of do understand the whole Alan Arkin at the end of Little Miss Sunshine saying, I'm old, I'd be crazy not to do drugs. I kind of get that like a little bit. But it was kind of a surreal experience. So yeah. But, yeah, I'm glad that you're not struggling with any cravings right now. Yeah, that's at least on the up and up, right, man? I mean, the dump of the other stuff, no kids, wet floors, neighbor dead. Like, fucking, wow. Yikes. Ouch.
Yeah, there's been a whole lot happening around me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm like, well, you know, I'm a little bit boring, but I think it's just I don't put as much energy into, and I'm still trying to find that balance.
Yeah.
What is and is not good energy to like put towards, or what are activities that I want to put energy into that are good activities,
Yeah.
while still maintaining that I avoid these other bad. And if it's like a Venn diagram, how much of one bleeds into the other. So there's
Sure.
a lot of questions about that kind of stuff.
Sure. No, I mean,
And that's just I'm still exploring it. That's all.
yeah. Any thought towards, you know, taking those X-Wing models out and playing at the local game stores?
Nope. No thoughts about that.
Okay. I thought of it as a pretty low risk thing when I went out to play BattleTech a couple of weeks ago. It was pretty low risk. Nobody was there going, hey, you want to hit the bar afterwards? Everybody was just like, nope, got to get home. don't have time to socialize other than just to have played 4.5 hours worth of big stompy tiny miniature robots. So cheers. All right. Well, so yeah, you weren't wrong. I tonight's topic of conversation, I didn't have a lot planned. I just had a question. And this is one that if you are listening to this right now, if you want to show up on Wednesday night after this episode is published on Twitch, twitch.tv / SVP podcast, and help me come to some kind of thought on this, that'd be great. I have a friend, I've talked about this person a little bit. Their spouse OD'd on fentanyl. And they're struggling. They're struggling mightily. And they're struggling kind of out loud. And I had a message from them earlier today that was basically, I sent them a text saying, hey, how's it going? Haven't seen you at the gym for a little while. And they responded, other than being a little suicidal, I'm great. And I was like, do I need to call somebody? Do you want to go get some food or something? Like, can we talk? Like, should I be worried? And, they sent me back a text and said, no, you don't need to be worried right now. Like, I'm being a little hyperbolic, but this is not the first time that they've expressed these kind of sentiments. And as somebody who has dealt with suicidal ideation, just that little bit of help at the right time can make the difference, right? So they're still obviously grieving really, really heavily. And they're grieving from what I kind of consider is our neighborhood of dysfunction. How do you help somebody grieve when they had this terrible circumstance thrust upon them almost out of nowhere, and they're never going to get closure for it? How do you help some? Like, I had no words that I felt were appropriate. Every single time this person brings this stuff up, I don't know what to say. All I can do is try to comfort in the moment, but it never ends. I always feel like my efforts are kind of anemic, and maybe there's just no formula for it. So I don't know. What do you think, Ticky? I don't know.
I think in my experience, and I've been like really depressed, and I've been dealing with things like grief. I don't know. I had a friend show up once and just sit down with me on the couch. We didn't talk. We just, kind of sat in silence for a little while and watched whatever was on TV. He didn't push the issue. It didn't try to draw anything out of me. He just was simply present.
Yeah.
And eventually we, kind of, if I remember, I turned on Halo and just played some co-op for a little while. We still didn't talk a whole lot. But, eventually I did speak and start to kind of talk about what was, how I was feeling and what was going on.
Uh-huh.
But really just being present, it was so much bigger than people can possibly even understand. And maybe a lot of our listeners do understand this already, but for me it was, and still is, just a really, really big deal. Didn't need to hug, I didn't need anyone to hold my hand.
Huh.
I didn't need anyone to talk to. Having somebody just sitting there with me, just being there was huge.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on it. Grief, everybody grieves differently, and I think that's why that worked really well for me. Maybe it did work really well for other people. That it doesn't necessarily have it doesn't have like a formula. It doesn't have a lot of steps.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this one basic thing of just waiting, just sitting and waiting quietly, patiently, and just being there. And that's huge. It's really, really big. And I feel sorry for your friend. That sucks big time, dude.
Yeah.
That is It's always the worst when someone gets taken from us unexpectedly. I think that's much harder to deal with. Um, but you know, that's all I can really. That's what I could say about it.
Yeah. I mean, the deaths in my immediate sphere have all been kind of known that they were going to happen. Like my grandparents were a while ago, but like my grandfather on my mother's side died of emphysema related complications, but we knew that he was, struggling for a really, really long time. My grandfather or grandmother on my mother's side, kind of a slow slide into dementia. So when that happened, uh, that was kind of rough. Not for me necessarily personally, but definitely for my mother. On my dad's side, I didn't have a very high opinion of my grandfather, so his passing from cancer, I mean, wasn't like I felt worse for my dad because he was never going to get the closure on the abuses that he suffered as a kid.
Hmm.
I felt worse for my dad about that than anything. And then when my grandmother passed a couple of years ago, once again it was more just feeling bad for my dad. And it's all just kind of my mother was pretty stoic about all of it. My dad was pretty stoic about all of it. I had an aunt pass on Christmas Day, who obviously that fucked with my mother quite a bit, but I didn't have a ton of connection to that portion of the family, so I don't have a lot of personal experience with close members of my family passing and being really, really negatively affected by it personally. I actually had.
Sorry about that.
It's
You
all
there?
right. It's all right.
No, no,
I
no,
actually
not a
had.
bad sneeze. No, it's just jeez. Oof.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you know what it is? I think you're getting me sick.
Yes. Yes.
Get your fucking face away from the mic, dude.
Never. The mic is. I'm gonna put it in my mouth just to make sure that you get all the goo.
I'm gonna put it in my mouth to make sure you get all the goo. That's the title of your sex tape.
That is the title of my sex tape. Wait, am I putting it in my mouth? Or yeah. You know what? Yes.
It's you know what?
All right.
It's your sex tape.
It's my sex tape. I'll do what I want in it. All right.
I think you're actually really asking a lot of the audience and getting very personable by
You know what's
bringing
funny?
that up.
I'm looking right at them right now.
Oh,
They know.
Those
They
poor
see me on.
people.
They see me on the YouTubes.
Those poor people.
So, I think the deaths that affected me the most were the ones in where I was in a professional setting. Like I've had a couple people die in the operating room, and those were the ones that ended up messing with me the most, which was kind of weird because they like I could not tell you what their names were. Like I actually tried to remember the name of the first guy that died because I thought it was like some in my early 20s. I thought it was like some kind of like rite of passage or something. It's not. It's like
His name was Robert Paulson.
wouldn't that be? But don't know. And I really wish that I had more that I could do for this person. Because I don't know that they're getting a lot of help from
Sometimes,
the
like I said,
people
man,
around them.
I personally think that sometimes just being there, like physically being present.
Yeah.
I mean, one, it's going to discourage somebody from wanting to hurt themselves if
Right,
somebody else
right.
is there. Um, but yeah, it's a I don't know. It's tough. I mean, and like I said, we all grieve differently. I I mean, at this point in my life, I tend to lash out at myself and the world around me. You know, but my passion bubble isn't really towards the top right now. But yeah,
Sure.
it's uh,
Gotcha.
sucks, dude. Feel bad for you.
Well, I mean, just me trying to help somebody else. That's it. Not and
Yeah.
being confused about how. I don't know if it's
You can
you know.
you can just take my sympathy.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
you don't have to- you
I do
don't have to say
appreciate it. I
anything. You
do
don't have to say
appreciate it.
anything.
I do appreciate it. I just there's always like I feel like there's a weird thing that some people do when they're like trying to help other people. They're like, I'm just trying to help so many people. I'm just trying to help so many people. Like making it about themselves.
Yeah, the martyrs.
Yeah, I'm not a martyr here. I'm not trying to make. I'm literally just. I'm asking for advice from the greater community that might listen to this, to see what they've got. And so I've got B there. I've got the Biden version of grief help, which worked for Joe Biden, might work for me. So yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you listening to it and giving me your input.
Well, you're welcome.
Cheers, man. So you're playing Hunt. Surprise, surprise.
Still, yeah.
I'm really glad that Russ and you might be branching out into other games sometime soon. I'm excited about that. It's hard to be a gaming and sobriety podcast when it's like lots of content about sobriety, and then we get to the gaming portion of it, and like sometimes it can feel a little anemic, and that's not like a personal judgment. It's just like if you're trying to make content, like having a little bit of variability is always a good thing. But yeah, I don't know. We've got one other podcast that listened to this podcast, the Sober Dad podcast. Shout out to John. We had a conversation with him, 3 weeks back, on the Sober Heathen podcast, who is now a Hunt player, and we're looking forward to having them on the Friday night stream on Twitch, hopefully with you, Ticky, so that we can have 3 sober guys playing Hunt at the same time, which I think would be kind of a novel, fun thing to do. But I am looking forward to hearing what you and Russ come up with as far as new games to play together and to bullshit about here on the old podcast. You've got a ton of movies that we're going to have you review over the next several months, including some stuff that you might not think, based solely on who was in them and when they were in them. I want you to think of this, all right? Dean Cain, Wesley Snipes, and Vanessa Williams in 1998. This was the height of Cain, Williams, Snipes, all right? Which does not sound at all like a law firm. The law office of Cain, Williams, and Snipes.
Yeah, you're like it was the heights of Dean Cain's career, and it's like, is that like the mountains of Florida?
I don't know what to tell you right now, other than to say, I mean, wasn't that when his Superman show was on?
Yeah, right around then.
I mean, I'm not saying they were
Clark.
Big peaks.
No,
but they were the peak.
Well, there are really no mountains in Florida. That's a point of trivia for everybody. I believe the highest point in Florida is something like 900 feet.
I guess it's the back of the scales on a crocodile. Yeah. I think that's it. Or a gator. Sorry, excuse me, gator. Florida gators, not crocodile. Crocs are China and Africa, right? I think.
Nope.
Where are crocs?
Well, they're first of all, they're on your feet and they're squishy with holes.
I do wear those in the operating room, and they don't have holes because that's gross.
Or in Egypt, saltwater crocs. Actually, saltwater crocs are the ones that made it over.
I said Egypt. Africa. I said Africa. Egypt isn't Africa.
Technically, but
the entire country of Egypt is now pissed at you, or the entire continent of Africa is pissed at you. One or the other.
You want to know? Okay, so here's the reason that there were so many crocodiles, and as a species, it really flourished in that part of the world. It turns out that in order for you to when the dead would die in ancient Egypt, they would put their bodies, they'd wrap them, and then they'd send them on down the Nile.
Oh.
They'd float them on down the Nile. Which is where all of these alligators and crocodiles are like, holy crap, there's like just so much free food here.
I swear to God, I thought you were going to say loose child watching standards. I thought that was what you were going to say.
No.
Chomp.
Anyway,
little
the theory is that. So yeah, so you've got but you've got the crocs. There are crocodiles, there are alligators. I believe they have both. They've got crocs in Louisiana for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anywhere that's saltwater, man. Alligators tend to be freshwater. Crocodiles can be either or.
Okay. Fair enough. Somebody fact check him, because I don't know enough, and he has pulled whoppers on this show before. All right. He made me doubt myself with the national animal of Scotland, right? And you all know that. So
Yep.
now,
Yep.
if you're
Fun
watching
fact
this,
about
oh, go
fun
ahead.
fact about oh, no fun fact about the unicorns. If you actually polish their horns, it actually shoots out glitter.
Yeah, yeah. You want to play? You want to cosplay as a unicorn this year, don't you?
No, but I'm gonna wear the suit backwards.
Yeah, you are. Upside down.
No, that's where the head's gonna be where my crotch is,
Yeah, yeah, I
and
got you. I'm
the
there.
horn's gonna be
The
my
horn.
penis.
You'd see the joke is wieners. That's the
Or
joke.
just-
Is
I'm
wieners.
I'm just gonna walk around with the horse's ass as my head, and the unicorn down there at my crotch.
Your glitter is so
Unicorn head.
viscous.
So, that's right, baby.
That's right, baby. I make a
I've been eating
viscous
a lot-
glitter.
I've been licking a lot of disco balls
Put it in
lately.
your hair. Put it underneath your eyes and then go to a rave. Okay. Good game. Go team. So over here to my left, screen right though, we've got a picture of Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I know that this game's been out for a while. It's been out for a while. But I'm finally getting into it. It's on PC, which means there's a hefty amount of modding that can be done to it, which is really kind of cool. Cyberpunk 2077, though, wasn't always Cyberpunk 2077. Fascinating story. Mike Pondsmith released this game in like 1994, I want to say. And the original storyline went from like 99 to 2020. So when CD Projekt Red came to Mike Pondsmith, creator of the game, and said, hey, we want to make a video game based off of your intellectual property, he was like, oh, I should probably like update this, right? Because, it'll be released a year after the primary storyline, and in the story, everything's super, super cybernetic and punky. And right now, nothing cybernetic, and only a few places. Like London's not even all that punk anymore, I don't think. And it was at one point in time. Oh, yes. So, fascinating stuff. Came up with a whole new storyline for the game. Kicked it 57 years into the future, which is interesting to see what'll happen. Like, I don't know if Mike Pondsmith's going to be around in 2077. He is 69 years old as of right now, I think. 69, 79? Man.
It's a pretty big challenge.
Yeah,
Let's see how it works out.
I hope for him. If he eats his overnight oats every morning, just like I do, he can also be struggling with regularity. Yeah. So, been playing the game a lot. Really, really enjoying it. Having a great time with it. The storyline, I'm actually really surprised how deep and interesting the storyline is. It doesn't even bother me one iota that Keanu Reeves is on screen, and I can't stop looking at him as Cyber Keanu Reeves. Like, I can't. You can call him Johnny Silverhands all you want. It's just silver-handed Keanu Reeves. Cyber Keanu. That's all I can think of when I look at him.
Wick.
And it's so funny because it's him voice acting it too.
Yeah.
Did the whole thing. So like he shows up randomly, and I'm like, hey man, what's going on? Where's your dog? There's no dog.
That's the wrong question.
There's no dog. What's the right question?
I don't know. I just know that you don't go and talk to John Wick and say, "Hey, where's your dog?"
Hey, where's your dog, man?
Yeah.
You know what? If I ever actually get a chance to meet Keanu Reeves in person, one, I'm gonna fangirl all over his motorcycle company because those bikes are fucking glorious, and I love that they're in the game. Like, I got a hold of one early on in the game, and it's an Arch bike. I think they're Arc in real life, but because of like trademark stuff, they had to call it Arch bikes. But they look exactly the same. They're phenomenal looking bikes, really, really pretty. They're like 70 to 80K a piece in the real world, so it's much cheaper to buy them for fake script in the video game. So definitely enjoy watching yourself ride around your avatar ride around on that, because I don't know who's affording one of those, because god damn, I can barely think to afford more than a $7,000 bike, let alone one that costs 70. But yeah, totally gonna fangirl out about that. But I'm also gonna ask him, "Where's your dog? Where's your dog, bro? Where's your dog?" And then I'll be like one of those like annoying guys that met Keanu. He'll be like talking to his therapist later. I'll be like, "It happened again. They asked me where my dog was. I'm ready to start shooting motherfuckers." And then suddenly Keanu Reeves won't be the incredibly nice guy that everybody thinks he is.
No, I think he will be. I think people will just look at you in a worse light.
Like I'm an asshole. Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I wouldn't actually.
It wasn't, you know what? It isn't the fact that Keanu went on a fucking murder spree. It's the fact that you triggered it.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you do to that poor sweet man that made him do this? I just asked him where his dog was. I was worried about the K9. That was it. That was all I cared
That's
about.
really doing your part.
Yep, 100%. So, what else are we doing? I've got models on the painting desk that I'm going through. I've got a backlog of World War II stuff. Then we're going to do probably a painting stream in the next 2 weeks of the Warhammer 40K Word Bearer Chaos Space Marines that I started doing a while ago and finished the first 3 and have 8 more to go. So we're going to get that done. Going to continue to play Cyberpunk 2077. We have the release of Diablo 4 coming up. That's going to be a big marquee item for the streaming. So if you're interested in playing on stream with any of the crew from Save vs. Poison that are playing it, please, hop onto the Discord, come see us on Twitter or Twitch, any of the Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday nights that we're streaming. Absolutely love to hook up with anybody that's interested in playing that. And then I've been playing a little bit of poker again. Have been enjoying that. The competitive nature and the deep strategic gameplay of that particular pastime have been calling to me and my gaming ADD. So we're all over the fucking place with our hobbies these days, but I'm enjoying making time for each of them in their own right. What games are you and Russ looking at? You said something about Valheim for a little bit. I didn't deep dive into that, but I know that you did.
I haven't jumped into it yet, but there's been some pretty big updates for Valheim. So he and I have been talking quite a bit about that. There's a couple of other games we talked about getting back into Deathwing.
Okay. Yeah, the 40K game.
Yeah, the Warhammer 40K game. A lot of that has to do with the fact that, like, I think we played that on, like, normal difficulty, and we couldn't get past the first mission. He and I were laughing. We're like, I think in all of our time with that game, we got to the, I think we got to the first mission once. And it was like one of our players or one of 2 of them who were like totally fucked up by the end of it, and you just move into the next game, and they're still messed up.
Sure.
It is a brutal, unforgiving game, but we did talk about maybe jumping back into that, something we hadn't been we had kind of, I don't want to say gave up on, but we had kind of dropped off of.
Sure.
Because we're a bunch of babies, and then
it was too hard. We're babies. Let's play Hunt instead. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, I know,
that game is
right?
monumentally difficult.
So there's another couple of alien style games that he was talking about.
Okay.
That looked really good. Like I said, I've got them on my wish list. I don't remember them off the top of my head, and I don't know if I can actually access my Steam and then give accurate information today.
I still got to try to get you guys into Hell Let Loose. I think you guys would really enjoy that game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's the World War II team-based.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
I know which one you're talking about.
Gotcha. I think you really would enjoy the shit out of that game. Like, it's a really, really excellent game.
Okay, I haven't tried it, so
okay.
It's not that I don't believe you. I'm just sitting here thinking, yeah, okay.
Gotcha. Okay,
cool. Yeah. We used to play Dave Defeat. Used to play Dave Defeat all the damn time.
Yeah, I know. Like, I remember going over to his apartment forever ago and seeing that loaded up, and then him playing around with it and wondering why are you all rabbit hopping? I don't think that happened in World War II. Nobody rabbit hopped.
Nope.
A lot of rabbit hopping. Just ridiculous. So yeah. All right, man. Do you have anything else you'd like to share tonight?
Nope, I'm good.
Cool, man.
I think I've overshared enough, so.
Never enough for me, all right? Never enough oversharing for me. Like every episode of the Save versus Poison podcast, we like to shout out to the mutual support groups that we hope you turn to in your time of need. There's Alcoholics Anonymous, AA.org, 212-870-3400, Moderation Management, moderation.org, 212-871-0974, Secular AA, that's aasecular.org, or 323-693-1633, Smart Recovery, smartrecovery.org, or 440-951-5357, and Women for Sobriety, womenforsobriety.org, 215-536-8026, and for friends and family of addicts that need some help in a group-type environment, there's Al-Anon family groups at al-anon.alateen.org or 1-888-425-2666. From all of us here at the Save vs. Poison podcast, I'm Sick.
I'm Ticky.
And we wish you warm, creamy regards. Good night, everybody.
You've just listened to another episode of the Save vs. Poison podcast. If you liked what you heard, please follow us, like, and subscribe on Twitter at @VS_save, on Facebook at the Save vs. Poison podcast, and streaming live on Twitch at twitch.tv/SVP podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and stay safe, everyone.